I remember I was not disciplined. I would study, the last days of an exam and not
Right.
really stay on top of everything. And I'd be leading everything, and then people would perform better than me in some of the exams, and they'd be shocked they beat me. And I was so disgusted in myself. And I remember I was on a train because I was working somewhere, and then the results were given to me. And I remember seeing those results, and it was like you kicked me in the guts. And I was on the train. I could see my reflection in the window of the train. I had never seen such self-loathing on myself through that reflection as that day.
What prompted that deep pain?
Because everything around me had built me up as some golden boy, right? And then the reality was I was far from a golden boy. Right?
Ouch.
And I had invested my identity in being some bullshit golden boy, but I was in denial of my lack of discipline and, just not really engaging, right? So that was probably that feedback of an exam result to slap me around. That really hit me hard.
How do you think that moment changed you, though? Was that then your fascination of going into being a work in progress? Like what?
Yeah, well, it's very interesting because I got accepted into a university, and I had forgotten what uni I had applied for because I was just copying my best mate's preferences, and we had similar interests and, communications degrees he was into, and I ended up, my fifth preference was what would impress my parents, electronic engineering. Like not 1 ounce of that was really my interest. And I remember being, sent a letter from Macquarie Uni, and it said, you've been accepted into this Bachelor of Arts, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, what is that? I had to reread the brochure on what the hell the degree was that I was accepted in. So then, because I was brainwashed into thinking uni's important and if you get given an opportunity, you should go, I did go. But then I was told that although you had applied for mass communication, you didn't get the scores because you needed like a law degree, HSC mark.
Oh, wow. Like 90s.
Equal to getting into law
Yeah.
to get into this communications program.
What?
Yeah. But I was told I needed to get B averages in the first year to be guaranteed to get into it. And what did I do, Azlan? I stuffed around, procrastinating, got some B's but lots of C's, right? And I wasn't going to get in. Now, during that year, however, lots of stuff happened in my life that I used as an excuse, wrote a letter, sent it in, and I sat with the guy and I said, look, I'm already got a side gig in an advertising agency, mass communication. I really want this pathway. And he looked at me and he just paused in that moment. He was the head of that faculty. And he went, all right, I'll get you into this. This one, I have to put you on a waiting list. Within 36 hours, I was in that too, the hard one to get into. And I basically got in the degree without even getting B averages.
Wow.
My level of gratitude for someone believing in me was so great that then something switched in my brain. And they said, if you get B averages in your in the comms degree, you will be allowed to do honors and pursue further, study. And something in me said, you know what? I don't want to be denied that pathway. And then suddenly I got good at everything.
Wow.
Right? And got my B averages, right? But you know what else happened at the same time? I was afraid to think for myself. So when I did essays and everything like that, I would hide behind experts and what they had to say, and my voice wouldn't shine through with my own thoughts and my own thinking.
So you're just paraphrasing.
So they were punishing me in my marks in the first year because I was not delivering me in the essays.
Wow.
I was hiding behind the experts.
Wow.
So in the second year on, that was another contribution of I started to feel like I could dare to have a voice and say, you know what, I think this based on what these guys are saying, I reckon. And I was consolidating their views into my own view and my own direction. Even at the end of that degree, the last essay, I was afraid of the original thinking I was coming up with because it felt too risky and too daring. And I swear to you, if they gave me a fail on the big project, I would have gone, George, what were you thinking? Are you crazy? You come up with these weird opinions on things. Like, you deserve this fail. Like, you should have really been more safe and just stuck to opinions that are more verified and aligned to experts. And what that made me realize, Azlan, is that in our life, it's not easy to reclaim your own individuality, your free will, back in yourself to really read what you decide is meaningful. We are raised for so many decades to give our power to what other people decide is meaningful, that to undo that and restore a balance that you're a contributor to meaning as much as everybody else is a hell of a journey to achieve. And it's a work in progress for all of us, including me, even now, right? But that was a huge shift for me, you know? And I know I just went on a huge tangent with this story, but you come back and you said to me, like, where did you get negative feedback that really hit me hard? And it was a wake-up call. It was, holy crap. See, you were manipulated, I believe, based on your story. You were manipulated by someone who was insecure. I was whacked by a system that says, yeah, nah, you don't measure up to get your shit together, right? I passed.
Interesting.
But I had huge aspirations to be in you know, much higher than that. I easily passed. That wasn't the issue, but it was embarrassing to me. I felt humiliated with my marks.
That take of it is so interesting because I was expecting to say a person, but a system.
Yeah.
That feedback. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's funny how, I mean, things impact people in so many different ways, you know, and I'm so careful now. It's actually a fear of mine as well. Like again, like with the Instagram stuff, the feedback, you know, what if I'm saying something that's going to destroy somebody's lives, or like, you know, at what point do you not be accountable for that, you know? And so it's, and you know, it's really interesting because I have ADHD, and one of the things that I believe we have is this constant fear of being wrong and being, because we've always been told off our whole lives, you know, like Azlan, in high school, in primary school, I was always outside. They had a chair for me with my name on it because I was always standing outside.
Oh my gosh, what an achievement.
Yeah, I know. It was almost like, okay, today, when am I going to stand on the chair today? Is it lunchtime or, you know?
Were people placing bets? On what?
No, not at that time, but I was placing bets on myself. Like the chair was just there. Like there's this, every class I've been to, there's always one chair there for me. And we're always afraid, you know. So when you grow up, when you become older, you then start thinking about, what have I said wrong? You're always feeling like you're wrong. Like, you know, somebody's going to beat me over the stick. Someone's going to come off in the bush and say, that's wrong, Azlan. And there's always that fear. So yeah, the feedback bit is so important, you know. Yeah, it's a very tricky road for ADHDer who's always been told that they're wrong because we are always so animated.
Yeah.
You know.
I haven't got my head around properly this phenomena of ADHD.
Oh, right.
But this is what I'm kind of joining dots on, right? Whenever I hear someone has something and it's become a label, I want to unpack that to understand, because I'm coming from a position where we're raised with a neuroplastic brain that wires into function, and it's supposed to keep rewiring to maintain function.
Right.
So the idea that you get locked into a dysfunctional way of thinking and behaving sparks my curiosity as to what led to that, and the process that led to it is the same process that would lead you out of it back into balance.
I see what you're saying. So it's not a predisposition, it's trained.
Yeah. Now, I don't deny that you can't label habits of behavior, but I feel like we freeze people into those habits as an identity.
And then give them medication.
Yeah, so medication, and also people start to relate to that as an identity, which psychologically locks you in.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. So this is the premise that I come at with ADHD. And so then I see a lot of people beating their chest and so proud of having ADHD. So then I think to myself, wow, look at that. ADHD is all bad for the people who feel like, oh my gosh, it's embarrassing. I have ADHD. What's wrong with me? I can't focus, blah, blah, blah. And then you lose your confidence, and then you become depressed, and you downward spirals. It's horrible. You know what I mean? ADHD. But then you've got the other side of the extreme, which is, I've got ADHD, and then you glamorize it and you make yourself feel important, and then you excuse your failings, and you know,
use it as a crutch.
Yeah, use it as a crutch, and then you champion it. You might become an ADHD coach, and you validate the person with ADHD, and then you build their entire freaking worldview on them having ADHD and how they can make it work for them and how they can forgive themselves in the areas where they're struggling. And it's almost like you have to build a whole scaffolding on top of an identity of dysfunction.
Yeah, that's true.
You see, do you see how I deliberately explain that?
Not really. Okay. Explain.
You see, halfway through that, his ADHD, he lost the focus and he couldn't stay with me. No, I'm just kidding.
That's my problem. No, I there were nuggets in there.
Extremes,
yes.
It's all bad
and it's all good. Yeah.
Right? By all good and all bad. So let's now come to ADHD being about your inability to hold your focus long enough to have timely understanding and derive a way to be that delivers value.
Ooh.
Isn't that technically what it's about? You know, like if you don't have ADHD, attention deficit, what is it?
Hypersensitive disorder?
Yeah, it's a disorder, which means it's not allowing you to function to feel like you're getting where you want to go, right?
Yeah.
That inattentiveness that your brain's not allowing you, you know, because it keeps distracting you, it keeps making you wander away from something. There's a reason why your brain does that. It's making a decision that your attention should be elsewhere. And who's trying to understand the underlying purpose of a brain deciding something else is more important than what you feel you should be focused on? Who's decided? Who's going there? Who's caring as to really care about what the brain, why it operates in a way where it thinks it should not be focused on that? I don't hear that conversation. You know, it's like, oh, my mind just wandered. It's
But
like,
why?
Yeah, but where did it wander?
Yeah.
What triggered it to decide something else is more important?
Ooh.
You know, I honestly believe we are oversimplifying why our brain does that. And I think we can learn a lot about ourselves. And so here's a couple of things that are part of the dot joining with this, right? So we talk about feedback and quality feedback. How the hell are we ever going to move from A to B on anything if we don't go into the feedback, into the detail? Like, notice someone who's apparently they've got ADHD. Notice that when their purpose is strong, their ADHD disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And notice how they try to demonize hyperfocus. So when
Some of them, yeah.
when you're diagnosing ADHD, one of the symptoms is hyperfocus.
Yeah.
In other words, you're too focused. Really? Because hyperfocus induces flow.
Yeah, that's right.
So can someone please explain to me how we trash flow state
Yeah,
for
yeah.
someone with ADHD just because they had strong purpose? And now we're offended that they can't pivot out of that flow state on hyper detailed, create something extraordinary from that
Yeah.
hyper focus.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's the two schools of thought. One of them demonizes it, the other extreme, goes the other way. But I see it as a strength personally. But you're right. I mean, why does the brain wander? For me, it's like I wonder quite a lot. And even my wife, she knows my face when I'm listening or not. And she'll go, hey, or like, are you listening? Or she'll just take those cues. But for me, the mind wanders when I feel like it's not important and I'm impatient.
Okay, there you go. It means purpose is too important to you and you need things to be meaningful.
Ooh.
You do. You need things to be meaningful to you. You need to connect to the value quickly. You can't just dance around ideas and not know how they interconnect and truly be something that's interesting.
Oh my God. That's the best thing I've ever heard. But it's true.
But yeah, and it starts to restore that you are absolutely fine.
Right. I see what you're saying.
But now the quest is not, is this meaningful to me? The quest is, how do I make it meaningful to me? You see, then suddenly ADHD is not your problem. Creativity to make something meaningful is the opportunity.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see how I like how you flipped it there.
Yeah.
From a problem to an opportunity.
Yeah, because Azlan, like, think about it. You're sitting with someone and your mind wants to wander because the conversation is boring.
There's no value to me.
Right? So if I'm leaning in and understanding that person, because I know there's a treasure, there's lots of adventure in meaning waiting for me, then I won't have an ADHD problem because I have a philosophical foundation to know my focus will yield meaningful outcomes. Every time you understand someone deeply, your power pops for purpose because suddenly you'll know how to be meaningful for that person. Right?
Oh, I really need to.
And then suddenly, Azlan, you're more engaging with people, what they have to say, their responses, what questions, right? By the way, whatever you were hearing just then, in case you're not seeing he was popping his lips repeatedly. That seems to be, I don't know, I'm guessing, some visceral reaction to something's going on there.
Yeah, it's me thinking and going, there's truth to this. I'm trying to figure out where is it that I can, where's the golden nugget here? Because that basically means, what you're saying is, I don't value the person enough to listen to that person, essentially.
Yeah.
Ooh, wife's gonna hate that.
You think she's gonna love that?
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
She's gonna go, George, thank you. He's $50. He's $50.
But I'm so brave in not I guess
everything is in balance.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying to you that you're supposed to value every single interaction with every single person. What I'm saying is that your underlying philosophy is there is magic in understanding everyone deeply, but you get to honor your own free will where you do it and where that takes you with your creativity, with your own interest and purpose. Remember, you know what will protect you, Azlan, and me and everyone else? The sustainable value exchange. So in other words, if the person is not reciprocating in kind on your mining expedition of their value, of what they stand for, of where the conversation can go, then you get to land the plane and bail out.
I see what you're saying.
You can't be held at ransom for someone who's not creating a sustainable value exchange with you.
I like that.
And your ADHD will protect you. It will bail you out.
Yeah, straight away.
So suddenly ADHD is not a problem. It in the right context, ADHD has function.
Yes, yes.
It says stop focusing on something that's not delivering. Go somewhere else that's more interesting to you. But our problem is that if we are escaping a situation before we understand it, then we're robbing ourselves all that's on offer right there for meaning.
That's the trouble, you see, because I don't see anything there.
No, and I believe you. And I believe you. But remember, the brain is selecting constantly, automatically, which means when your brain works fast, it's a double-edged sword. It will identify things that are of value to you, but it will also habitually not decode real value that's there at the same time. So you know what you're experiencing right now? You have been riding on a horse of a way to be for so long with so much value to it that you're proud of. Suddenly riding differently seems a little bit awkward because you're so invested in the identity.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing. You are multidimensional, which means adding this dimension to you to allow you to see people as opportunities for meaning as much as projects and excelling, with outcomes, is you activating more of your leadership power.
Yeah, you're right.
And more of your purpose, deep, rich purpose. Because you know what I know about you, mate?
Are you giving me good feedback or bad feedback?
Exactly. Here we go. Yeah, actually, I might pivot and go bad.
Go the shit sandwich. Yeah.
You're one of the most kind-hearted people I know.
Oh, really?
Yes. You are so generous. You're kind. You always want to be...
Oh, thanks,
you always want to be fair. Like, you push yourself. You would fall on your own sword to know that you haven't ripped someone off or shortchanged them. You know what I mean? I know that about you. But then what happens is the counterbalance of that is that you have to protect yourself.
Yep.
And so therefore you prejudge and block and rob yourself of going deeper with someone. If your brain assesses, they're going to sink you with their attitude right? But a leader inspires them to be different and then puts the boundaries in if they choose not to be.
Wow.
But you leading with your own self-imposed boundaries for self-protection because you wear your heart on your sleeve and you have to create mechanisms to counterbalance that level of vulnerability.
That explains a lot.
Does it?
It does, man. I've had 3 people. I just told this to my wife yesterday. I said, these 3 people, they have so many problems in their lives, and they come to me, and I don't ask them, I don't prompt them. They've left the company, they keep coming back to me. Azlan, my life is, and I was like, for me, there's no value exchange here. There's no value here. So I don't want to respond anymore because all I do is when I respond is I feel heavy and like a knife stabbing me. Why am I doing this? That model is gone, the value exchange model. Yeah. And so then I protect myself by just not texting. Like, I'm known across, everybody knows Azlan doesn't text back.
Yeah.
Because that's my mechanism to protect myself.
Yeah.
So it's
so is that like ghosting?
Yeah, I ghost everybody.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. I can't do it.
He's a ghoster. Yeah. But that's the counterbalance.
There is a counterbalance.
Because you are so engaged with hyper-focus to do such amazing things that the counterbalance is you have to tap out completely.
Correct.
Where that's sinking you.
Yeah. And when I talk to this person, I'm trying to like really understand them and really try to relate, and then it's so heavy that I despise it. after an hour, I'm like, I don't want this anymore. I want to stop. So then I just stop. And then Azlan disappears. And I think that's my counterbalance.
That must hurt you because you don't want to be that person, but you can't help it because you have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this has turned into a therapy session. Let's hold a space for Azlan.
No, it's so funny because it all relates to feedback and building people. And I honestly don't see value in, it sounds so selfish, but in listening to somebody else's story about, it just doesn't, I mean, to a certain extent.
Can I share with you what I do? Can I share with
what
what I do in those situations? Yeah. I ask challenging questions that make the person feel uncomfortable with them perpetuating their victimization identity. You see, I accept them being a victim of circumstance, a victim of poor treatment.
Yeah.
I would never take that away from them, and they deserve to be validated in the pain of that. But the moment their brain tries to lock it in as their identity, then it's a slippery slope, a downward spiral from there.
Yes.
Because now their brain just wants to look at why nothing will ever be good, why nothing will ever change.
Because this person did this to me.
And that will sink you with them.
Yes.
Because they want you to give them solutions, but they're waiting for the magic answers. But then they underestimate how their brain can trash every answer.
Yes.
Because of their victim identity, right? So I talk about, I am very wary of what we make our identity. ADHD, other personality disorders, I'm just jinxed, the universe doesn't love me. Like, did I ever tell you that I actually caught myself in a deconstruct where I thought the universe was bullying me?
I know, you told me.
I told you that,
told
right?
Me that story, yeah.
So,
but for our viewers, tell them the story.
But
do you want to?
But did I in the podcast previous?
No, it was between me and you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was talking to you in the office.
Okay, so what happened was I made this really, really dumb mistake that cost me, I calculated conservatively 25, 30 grand. And I looked myself in the mirror like when I was, in high school, with the HSC result. And I went, really? Really? No matter what I do, no matter how far I build, I can keep making mistakes that push me that far back. It was such a dumb mistake. It was so obvious when I saw the mistake. Mm-hmm. And I remember I got in the car and I'm driving and I started to do the deconstruct in my mind around how I felt, why I felt that way, and therefore how I was behaving. And then what had happened was the underlying assumptions were, no matter what I do, no matter how creative I get, no matter how hard I push, the universe will counter step. So it's, if I shimmy left, shimmy right, left, right, it will mirror and block me for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And then the moment that popped, I burst into laughter because it was so absurd that I would want to create a bully out of the universe. Like I created a bully. And then when I realized is that my free will was such a precious gift to me and us, all of us, right? That the universe allowed me to have a relationship with it like it was a bully. And it let me live as if it was a bully.
Yeah, everything you perceive.
Yeah, and then when I felt its love for allowing me to believe anything about it, I felt my whole body just feel warmth on my skin, like I was comforted. And then suddenly I was a different person who got out of that car. And then I got onto that computer and I just went into hyper focus. And I fixed that problem, turned it to another level, and went to another level so quick. And it was a huge, profound shift. Yeah, that was the experience.
So then how do you, you coming back to asking the challenging questions to help a person reach that stage?
Yeah, exactly. So I am comfortable with the balance of validating someone if they're being victimized
Yeah.
so that they know they're not alone and we are a works in progress, and sometimes life bashes us with perfect storms. So when you genuinely validate someone like that, it helps them because they
Yeah.
shouldn't feel alone. But when they start angling to represent themselves as a victim identity,
Yes.
I have the presence of connecting and focusing enough to that detail that I can poke at it because it's absurdity. And so when I ask well thought out questions in real time, they can't answer those questions without clashing against their own better judgment. So they become confronting their cognitive dissonance. And then now if they want to own it and they want to be grateful, then they're growing with me. And I feel like I'm being of genuine value to them. And I'm being rewarded by someone who's grateful and who lets the value land, right? But if they argue for their limitations, hold on to their absurdity, I then create a boundary and go, I can't help you when you want to try to force those dots to join when there's no logic for them to join, and you want to argue about that and hurt yourself because you are fighting for a philosophy that sinks you, not for a philosophy that uplifts you and makes you realize that you exist with imagination, neuroplasticity to change the way you think and blah, blah, blah. And I have a pretty good case thanks to the career that I've had. I can build a very good case very quickly for why people are worthy and capable in a world that can fit their dreams being realized, right? I can put that case forward reasonably quickly. Now, that's my journey. But your journey is because if you set your mind to anything, you get to its details quickly and you know how to move it in the right direction. Imagine if you treated people like projects.
Yeah, I know.
It's like next level. Next level.
It is honestly a 180-degree idea for me. I
like wow.
Like I'm at you're at the bottom of the Batu Caves, and I'm literally at the bottom of the stairs, looking up like the 1,000 flight of stairs right now, going, how the hell am I going to get up there?